If you like what you watch, then don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates on The More Show. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new weekly television and radio shows.
Welcome back. Joining me now is international psychic clairvoyant Patricia Brooks. Over the last 30 years, Patricia has used her gift to provide consultations and various workshops worldwide. She is currently writing a new book, Never Say Goodbye, about knowing that we've been here before. Patricia Brooks,
hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us today. Now, Patricia, just tell our audience to begin with a bit about your gift.
Well, unknowingly, I've carried the gift since a child. Maybe I was actually born with it. And I feel it's gone from strength to strength. To be perfectly honest with you, and I've never mentioned this before, I feel that when I was aware that it arrived as early as 2.
Wow.
2 years of age, and I fell into the River Trent. And if my aunt had not been there to save me, I think I would have drowned. But I actually saw my own little body.
You actually left your little body?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
And I was fully aware that I was actually drowning. And from there on, at that age of 2, my life changed.
So you knew something was different even at that
Absolutely.
young age?
Yes.
And was you ever involved in sort of seeing things that other people couldn't see?
Well, I didn't realise that, of course.
No.
Because it was something that you, as a small child, you don't talk about to others, because quite naturally one assumes that everyone does it. But being brought up as an only child, of course, I played with my spirit friends, and it was delightful. They were in my bedroom. I looked forward. must have been one of the oddest children that actually looked forward to going to bed, because I played with my spirit friends. And out in the garden, I remember it well, talking away to my spirit friends. I was building a house, and they were helping me. And it seemed quite normal until, I suppose, about 11. And a little friend said to me, "You're very strange." And that made me think that perhaps maybe I was a little strange.
Was your family quite supportive of it?
Well, I didn't talk to them either. You see, I suppose if you think about it, children before puberty, they do have make-believe friends. And how much do we know if they are actually seeing people, babies, youngsters that have passed over?
Yeah, because that scares a lot of parents, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, but
yes,
you would say
does.
encourage it?
Yes, I don't see anything wrong in it at all, because 90% of children, by the time they get to puberty, it's gone. The other 10% finish up to be folk like me.
So did you ever think, when you was a bit younger, that you'd be travelling the world, you know, giving all these readings that you do? I mean, how many readings have you done?
Thousands, maybe millions. I obviously can't remember all of them, and it's a little bit scary when someone comes back and said, "You saw me 20 years ago." I think, "Oh, Jesus, what did I say?" Yes, people do come back when they feel the need.
So how does it work for you then? I mean, is it in visions? Do you have a guide?
Yes, everyone has a guide. It's not just a psychic or a clairvoyant or a medium. Everyone has a guide. You have one. Everyone that is living on the planet, even animals have guides, would you believe? But because we're in the business, so to speak, as psychics, we get to know our guides if we can.
Do you have to use your guide?
No, I feel that we don't have to use them. Perhaps they help us unknowingly. You know, when you're tired and you're driving along and you think, "Gee whiz, I'm so tired." The following day you possibly cannot remember getting home.
So when did you first start giving readings then? How old were you when you did your first one?
After I'd had my children, would you believe? And because I'd had such an odd life, I began to ask why. Why do these things happen to me? They don't happen to my friends. They don't happen to other members of the family. Why? And once that little word, those 3 letters kicked into my head, I couldn't let go.
So why changed everything for you?
Completely.
But was there any particular books you read? Was there any sort of someone that you met that helped you along the way?
Well, I actually, strangely enough, went for a consultation. And that is how, in many ways, it first started. I had read books. I had, being a Scorpion, of course, being inquisitive about the occult and the unknown intrigued me.
Because you started at a time when, over 30 years ago, times were different then. These subjects were pretty taboo, weren't they?
Completely. In fact, one of my first clients, and I remember saying to them quite vividly, "Have you enjoyed that?" And this lovely gentleman said, "Yes, but you look nothing like I thought you'd look." I said, "Well, how do you think that I was supposed to look?" "Well, I thought you'd have long fingernails and a scarf round your head with all the money around and the huge earrings, and I thought I had to cross your palm with silver," to which I had to disappoint him and say, "I'm not a fortune teller. I'm actually a psychic."
So you said, on your website it says psychic, clairvoyant and medium.
Yes.
Is there a difference in your view between them all?
Yes.
And they are?
Yes. A medium communicates with people that have passed over. A clairvoyant has the ability to see, and to see past, present and future. And the psychic ability helps those two energies, those two understandings. There are many, many psychics that do not wish to train in mediumship. And there are many, many people that come to see me that do not wish me to tune in to that side of the gift. And obviously I respect it. They just want to know how to cope down here.
Yeah.
And there are some folk that just wish you to do mediumship.
Okay. So where's this path took you from? I mean, it started, let's say, was it 1977?
Yes.
To currently now? I mean, what?
Yes, makes me feel very old.
But it's been a journey, hasn't it?
100%. And it's changed me so very, very much.
So how much is it? So tell me about the old Patricia compared to the one that we're sat with now.
The old Patricia?
Yeah, from 30 years ago to what you believe now.
Well, I was a lot bossier, of course, and really never thought about mediumship, or as my youngest grandson says, talking to the dead. You actually talk to the dead, Nana. Wow. And he looks up in the sky and said, "I can't see anyone." And it does make you think, the ability, and I apply humbleness to my life.
Do you see it as a gift?
It has to be a gift. It has to be a gift. I must have chosen this before I came back.
Yeah, so this is something you've brought into this life, you think, yeah?
Yes, to be able to work at the level that I do, and some of the things that I describe, they still amaze me. I just sit in amazement.
So you would say that every reading that you have with somebody is a reading for yourself, or a sort of mirror for yourself?
Yes, because I feel there's something that teaches me when I see a client, albeit old or young, male or female. There's always a little quip that I think, I can apply that to me too.
Yeah. And do you use the crystals or tarot cards, or are they there as a backup?
Yes, I can actually, I'm fortunate because I can actually sit and do face readings, would you believe, by just tuning into a person. And the whole concept of doing a consultation changes. What has been happening recently is I've actually seen a face come through a face. That's only happened over the last 6 months. A face comes through a face. And I can see, let's say, the person's mother who's passed over. And that is amazing. I never, ever dreamt that I could carry out such amazing information and see so much. But the tarot, a lot of people like the tarot because they can physically see it. And when learning the art of how to use psychic ability, using the tarot does help to develop the third eye.
Right.
By looking at the colours, by using them in meditation, and that everyone can develop the third eye.
Well, do you think we all have the psychic ability?
I do.
So why don't we use it? How comes we're not been born with the gift that allows us to open up this sort of valve?
Because I think it would be a potty place if we all used it. And nothing would get done, would it? Because I don't do anything else. So, we all have gifts of different kinds to use this time around to help the planet, which is very, very important. But I feel that everyone on the planet, it would help them to learn to be able to trust their feelings a lot more.
And is that what you do?
All the time. All the time, yes, because psychic ability doesn't have any logic.
No, it's all going with the inner,
It's all
the
feelings.
inner truth and the feelings.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is all feelings.
Do you find it easier though, or well, do some people find it nervous to sort of be sat in front of someone that can, you know, see their soul and see what's going on around them?
Yes, I suppose. Well, if a person comes to me for a consultation, no, because they've chosen to come to me to enable me, hopefully, to help them. And a lot of people, if I go to a restaurant like yourself, don't know who I am anyway.
No.
So that's good. Although telling you the little story.
Yes, which you told me just before we came on. Actually,
Yeah.
people do know you. You're very well known up in the north, I would say.
Yeah,
I mean, people can't get
yes.
near your store when you're up there. Yeah, you're booked out straight away. So
Yes,
it's got to say a
feel-
lot.
I feel very humble, I must say, and I feel a great responsibility of guiding and advising people, but then that's up to me to trust higher power, to trust my guides, to be able to come through and help the lovely person that's sitting opposite me.
Yeah. So just very briefly, just tell us a bit more about your guides.
Yes, my main guide is Aishia, who I discovered, I would say, around about 25 years ago. And he is a North American Indian. And he always comes with a horse. I've never quite asked him why, but he does always come with a horse. I must get round to tuning in and asking him why. But he always does help me in any way with energies. If I get tired, he will be there by my side.
And is that a voice or a vision or?
It's mainly a feeling. If I do meditation, which I carry out around about an hour's meditation each day, and I I'm feeling a little bit stressed or a little bit uptight, he will come in very close and I can see him. But when I'm working, I'm not aware.
No.
I'm just with that client.
Right.
And nothing else.
You mentioned another guide as well.
Oh, Patrick.
Yes.
Yes, I think Patrick must have been naughty when he was on planet Earth. He was a jockey. And of course, with a name like Patrick, he must have been Irish. Consequently, I spent time in Ireland, and I had a beautiful healing centre above a little shop called Dopey Dora's,
Right.
which was a huge giggle at the time. But that's where they wanted me to be. And he has taken me to just about every race course in the country. I can truly say there are not many race courses in the UK that I haven't attended.
And again, are these connections?
Not Tibet, I hasten to say.
But are these connections, do you think they're past life connections with these guys?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
undoubtedly. Undoubtedly. It's beautiful. And it's all about trust. It's not about over-analysing, because that's where we get ourselves into problems if we over-analyse. When one is trained to be a clairvoyant or a medium, the first thing you have to learn is not to hang on to stuff. Because if you're picking up something for another person, it doesn't mean anything. So you have to give it out straight away.
Right.
If we over-analyse it,
you
we
must
lose
get
it.
some messages that you just cannot make sense of sometimes.
Yes, all the time,
Yeah.
all the time.
Is it frustrating at all? Or
No,
no? You
it's
just...
silly. Because some of them are just so tiny little things that may not mean anything to me. The most unimportant little sentences I can say to someone like, you know, you should have thrown that cheese out 2 weeks ago. Your mother's telling me, and she's right.
Yeah.
I should. It's those tiny, what appear to be unimportant messages.
But that's the validation they may need
Yes.
for someone that's been very close, that's passed on, and
Yes.
it makes all the sense.
Completely.
Yeah.
And that puts them at ease and makes them feel relieved.
Yeah. And what about telephone readings? Are they easier for a client that's a bit nervous in front of you sometimes? I mean, there must be people that come to you that you have to sort of centre a little bit before you give the reading.
No, not really.
No?
No. Because people need to book in for a telephone consultation. I cannot just carry them out willy-nilly. So I have to book them in, I would say, the time about 3 hours beforehand. That just gives me time to tune into their energies,
Yes.
which is quite important. And I also ask for their date of birth, because you've chosen your date of birth. And so that enables me to see why they chose it and what's going off. and from there on it is straight clairvoyance.
Right.
And believe it or not, sometimes it's much easier because I'm not influenced by how they look, clothes, what they're wearing, if they have a hangover. You know, it doesn't make any difference. I'm just tuning in purely to their energy. And it also doesn't matter whether it's next door or whether it's 5,000 miles away.
You're
Doesn't
still
make any
in tune
difference.
with who's on the phone, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's, like you say, it's that connection, it's that oneness. Okay, well, there's many more questions about your work that we'll get to just after the break. So stay tuned, as I'll be right back to speak to Patricia after the break.
Visit themoreshow.co.uk/shop to purchase products and services from your favourite past guests. If you're new to this site, you can also catch up on the previous television and radio shows through YouTube and the More Show website.
Welcome back. I'm still with Patricia Brooks, International Psychic Clairvoyant. Now, Patricia, one thing I wanted to talk to you about before the break was the birth dates. Now, do we choose our birth dates?
Yes, I believe that we do. Yes, you chose to be a Cancerian on whatever date, and I chose to be the 21st of November.
So what are we getting out of choosing it? I mean, why would we choose it for?
Because it helps us with our package. We have a package that we come back with, and it helps us to be able to cope with the experiences that are compatible to the star sign, to that very date, because the astrological chart actually is a science all of its own. So you will have a moon sign, and Mercury, Venus, Mars were all in a certain position when you were born. For instance, you're not just a Cancerian. You will have the moon will be in a different position. Your ascendant sign or rising sign will be any of the 12. So it is an actual unique placement that you have chosen.
So you're talking about the actual time as well is quite
Yes.
important.
Yes, and a lot of people in England, unfortunately, do not know their time. So we have to douse for it. Because for whatever reason, England decides not to put them on the birth certificates. But they do in Scotland, but not here in England.
So you're saying then, if I've got this right, that we choose specific times, specific dates, that's going to teach us whatever lessons we need to get out of life. But these dates and times, I suppose, is it something to do with what emotional journey we're going to go through, depending on what star sign we are?
I feel it's the whole package. It's emotions, it's what we physically get up to. It's what we have to cope with, how many children we have. It helps us with our careers, the outlets that we choose. All the way through, it has an influence on it.
But then, don't we have free will?
Yes. Yes, we do.
So where's the free will in that then? Is that a choice where we can either take it or leave it? I mean...
No, we choose the date that is compatible to where we are going. Once we agree to come back to planet Earth, because that's what we have to do to start off with, agree to coming back to planet Earth, because it's just a big school of learning.
Do we have to go back?
There are some people that do tell me they're never coming back again. But this is the place of experience. This is the place of lessons. This is where we can put right wrongs. And the date of birth helps us to make those decisions. So that is free will.
Are these wrongs, are you referring to wrongs that we did in a past
Yes.
life?
Yes. You know, you can argue against that, because are they wrongs or are they just experiences?
Well, if you come from a loving source, how can it judge what is wrong and right?
It doesn't judge. It's unconditional love.
So it's us that judge?
Yes. And if you think about it, how many people judge?
Judge all the time, don't we?
Yes. We judge about other people too, don't we?
So do we judge ourselves when we go back to the spirit world?
I don't quite understand what you mean.
Well, if we've done something which on this level would be classed as wrong,
yes,
that's gone against and hurt someone knowingly,
yes,
then when we go cross over, do we just judge ourselves reflectively of what impact that made around the people that we did it?
Yes, we can see what we have done in actual fact. I mean, if you consciously hurt someone, you do have a conscience, don't you? Or a majority of us do. And we are fully aware of the fact that we are carrying out an incorrect act. And there has to be a karmic debt that is built up. So we have to put right our wrongs.
So you do believe in karmic debt?
I do,
Yeah.
100%.
Would you be surprised if that didn't work exactly how you're saying?
I would be very surprised, and because I do see this happening with countries as well as people. It happens in business. For instance, let's say there is a company that carries out underhand ways of dealing with their business, then sooner or later that business will destroy itself.
Which happens a lot.
It does happen a lot.
Yeah. Or do you think there's some things which we would class as wrong, but actually they're, to the universe, it's not quite so wrong, if it's not judging?
Yeah, that's very difficult for us to say, isn't it, really? The main thing is, when we are here on planet Earth, is to do our best, and to do our best for other people, and animals, and nature, and the trees, and everything else. And the key is not to abuse.
Which happens a lot, doesn't it?
I'm
There's
afraid
abuse
so.
on all sorts of levels.
I'm afraid so,
You know.
yes. But
And
some people do believe that we have to have the yin and the yang of life.
The hot and the cold.
And the good and the bad, the black and the white. You know, we cannot be a 100% pure planet.
Well, that's it, because, I mean, if everything was just one way or the other, where's the existence, where's the experience in that? Without the opposites, how can you know the other?
Well, quite. But this is how we learn, isn't it? This is how we grow as we get older. You know, when we are teenagers, many of us don't care about what happens to others and just plough through life. And as we get older, we become a lot more sensitive to our conditions and those around us. So we learn.
What about the guides? Do we choose those as well before we come here?
I actually feel that the guides choose us. I feel when we are in the fetus stage, we are aware of our guide that has volunteered to look after us during this lifetime. And then, of course, as we are born, the memory is wiped clean. So we are born without that immediate memory of the past lives and our guides.
And that's so we make the maximum impact in this life, because, is that right? If we came here with all our past life memories, then what we've come here to do would not work.
Spot on. Yes, yeah. Absolutely spot on. And so those guides are with us, and those folk that are the guides have volunteered to look after us. Many people get confused at this level, because they always, a lot of them tend to think that it's my mother's my guide. I say, well, that's impossible, because your mother was down here on the planet at the same time as you were.
I suppose you give so many readings, don't you, when you do these tours? And now normally you're mainly known up in the north of England, aren't you?
I am at the moment.
Yeah.
It's strange how the work takes you to certain areas. It's gradually bringing me back down south again. I'm in Brentwood next year, and we're looking at some of the London shows for next year. But it's just where Spirit want you to go.
Yes.
They have control, really, of where to send me. And working with BSSK, of course, British School of Spiritual Knowledge, all of their events are up north. Okay,
so would you say then, after doing all these readings and everything you've done with your life and the sort of path it's took you, there's no one right answer for anything, for anyone, is there? You wouldn't suggest going for one book and saying that's the answer for you?
No, you can't do that. And like you were saying earlier and asking, people do have free will. So you have to read a book to get a paragraph out that suits you.
Would you say the book chooses you?
Yes. Yes, I do believe that. Many years ago, I used to have a group of healing shops named the Crystal Caverns. And I was always Cinderella in the back, seeing my clients, of course. The front of house, people were all dressed and looking gorgeous. I was in the back room, and arriving late, of course. And every time I tried to creep past, not being noticed, a book would fall out. And I thought, that's a sign. Very often I put the book back until one morning I walked in and the book fell out. And I thought, okay, I will read the book. And the title of the book, The Wisdom of Insecurity. So I sat down and read the book.
So you're writing a book, aren't you, as we
I am
currently speak?
indeed, yes.
Never Say Goodbye.
Never Say Goodbye.
Yeah, tell us a bit about the book.
I feel a responsibility before I leave this planet to leave some things behind. And the books, which will hopefully follow from this one, will be left behind for people to read and understand and hopefully help them on their spiritual pathway. And so Never Say Goodbye, I felt, was my responsibility to encourage people to look further into understanding that they have been here before and there is no such thing as death, and that people do come back. Whether they come back in the physical form or the spiritual form in our lifetime is irrelevant, really, but they are around us, and I feel a great responsibility for telling people that.
Well, Patricia, thank you so much for joining us today.
And thank you. It's been a great pleasure.
Absolutely. For more information on Patricia, visit my website, themoreshow.co.uk, and click on Past Guests. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates on the show. So until next time, thanks for watching.
If you like what you watch, then don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates on The More Show. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new weekly television and radio shows.